welcome to this episode of John's Motorcycle Rescue and Review. Today I have another classic bike ride comparison for you. In today's episode, it is Kawasaki's 1979 KZ1000 shaft versus Yamaha's 1980 XS1100 Special. And the first one up is Kawasaki's 1979 KZ1000 shaft. The KZ1000 shaft was really Kawasaki's answer to Yamaha's XS1100 and Honda's GL1000 Goldwing. And what they did was they took a standard style KZ1000 and they added shaft drive to it. When Yamaha introduced their XS1100 in 1978, it was really a game changer. None of the other manufacturers had a model that had the engine output, the power output that the XS1100 had. Even as a shaft drive bike, it still was the quickest production motorcycle at the time of its debut. So another thing that Kawasaki did in 1979 was they bumped up the power on their 1000cc 4-cylinder motor. You can tell the updated motors of the 79 models because they have these squared off valve cover end caps as compared to the rounded earlier valve cover end caps of the KZ1000 motors. Kawasaki updated their styling as well. They went to more of a squared off styling in 79 with their standard models. And I think this is a really pretty bike. I love the styling on this bike. I love the original KZ1000s as well, but I really like the styling on this bike. And that brings us to Yamaha's 1980 XS1100 Special. I know the Special is more of a cruiser style model instead of the more standard style model that looks a little bit more like the KZ1000 shaft. But this inherited the Yamaha XS1100's touring flavor. And so these bikes are very capable and quite equivalent as touring bikes. On paper, there's a lot of similarities between these bikes. They both have big, air-cooled, inline 4-cylinder motors. Both of these bikes have 8-valve motors. It's 2 valves per cylinder on each of them. Each of these bikes has a 5-speed transmission and shaft drive. They both have the large dual disc brakes up front, and those are acted on by big single piston calipers. I have upgraded the brakes on both of these bikes with Spiegler steel braided brake lines. I've also upgraded the handlebars. I'm running the same handlebar on each one, and it is the MGO Magna wide handlebar. Both of these bikes feature dual exhaust. These bikes also have large disc brakes in the rear. Both of these bikes have large, wide seats. They're both all-day comfortable machines, and they were really designed to eat up the miles. They were designed to just get out and go and really enjoy the road. All right, enough talk. What are these bikes like to ride and drive? I'm gonna gear up. I'll bring my camera along. Let's find out together. Let's ride.
I am currently riding Kawasaki's beautiful 1979 KZ1000 shaft. And this was really Kawasaki's answer to the XS1100 and Suzuki's GS1000G and even Honda's Goldwing GL1000. Kawasaki went the simple route when creating this bike, and they really used a lot of components from their KZ1000 line. They have the same motor as the KZ1000 standard models, but they made it into a new shaft drive system. This bike is smooth, it's fast, it's very comfortable in the seating position, and the seat is nice and wide and supportive. This motor is torquey. It's got a very flat power band. It does not really have a rush up top in the power band like the Yamaha does. It'll be interesting to see how this does in the roll-on comparison compared to the Yamaha. Because this bike has a larger diameter wheel in the back, the roll in to corners is different than the Yamaha as well. At 60 miles an hour, this bike is revving right around 3,700 RPM. And while it's relatively smooth through the seat, I do get a little bit of vibration through the foot pegs, and I definitely get more vibration through the handlebar. And as the speeds pick up from 70 miles an hour, the vibration tends to increase a bit. Handling wise, both of these bikes handle well. Neither one is one where you want to just be blitzing corners all the time. They're both tall and heavy. They both feel like they've got a tall center of gravity. But they are stable. They do handle well through the corners as long as you don't get too carried away. Shifting wise, this Kawasaki really has a nice shifting 5-speed transmission. It's never notchy between the gears, and I would give it just a little bit of an edge over the Yamaha. Both of these bikes are really comfortable and confidence inspiring and nice riding when they are in the touring mode. They like the more open roads, and I really enjoy just driving them on the winding Pennsylvania farm roads and up in the mountains. They're still fantastic places to be. And I'll be honest, they are more comfortable and ride better than a lot of the more modern bikes. Both of these bikes are running the Spiegler steel braided brake lines, but at the lever, the Kawasaki has much better brake feel. And I can just tell what the brakes are doing, and it's easy to modulate how much pressure I give them. On a beautiful day like today, it's so nice to be out on these classic bikes, and it just makes me want to get out and keep on riding. I'm currently riding Yamaha's 1980 XS1100 Special, back to back with Kawasaki's 1979 KZ1000 shaft. And my first impression is, while I sat up on top of that Kawasaki, I sit a little bit more down into this Yamaha. There's definitely more of a raked out feel to the front end of this Yamaha, and the turn-in is different between the two bikes for sure. The Yamaha is definitely a little bit more floppy. It wants to kind of push into the corners as you're going around a low-speed corner. So you have to keep pressure on the inside bar. But I'm also noticing that this bike is very smooth. It has less vibration than the Kawasaki does, especially when you get up above 60 miles an hour. This XS1100 revs just above 4,000 RPM at 60 miles an hour, so it's geared lower than the Kawasaki. And it feels like it's a little bit snappier down low as well. And when you get on it, there is certainly an instant and immediate rush of power. But I feel like the Kawasaki, when you ride that, it has kind of a sneaky fast power. It definitely picks up all the way up through the rev range, and it definitely goes very quickly, but it has a little bit more relaxed gearing. And another thing is the throttle pull on these carburetors. The constant velocity is much easier than it is on the slide type carburetors, and so that also makes this feel like it generates speed a little bit more effortlessly. The stability on this Yamaha is fantastic. I think it's a little bit more stable out on the road than the Kawasaki. It's definitely a little bit smoother. This Yamaha has good brakes, but the feel through the lever is very wooden. It feels like you give it a significant amount of pull through the lever and not a whole lot happens, and you give it a little bit more pull and then you stop really hard. So it's a little bit difficult with the feel to modulate the brakes. The Kawasaki definitely has the edge there. This Yamaha is a very relaxing place to ride, and it really shines through that it is based on a touring bike. Shifting wise, this Yamaha shifts crisply up through the gears. As long as you're precise with your shifting and are mindful of it. It can be a little bit notchy if you're lazy with your shifting. This Yamaha also feels like it has a lighter flywheel than the Kawasaki does. It picks up revs quicker. Yeah, this is just buttery smooth at these speeds. There's much less vibration coming through the handlebar on the Yamaha. The smooth acceleration of the Yamaha is quite addictive. Ride-wise, both of these bikes ride really nicely. They're both comfortable all day. The seats on them are nice, and they're just terrific to be out and riding and touring around on a little bit more open roads.
All right, man, what a lot of fun. What a nice way to spend a day testing these two classic bikes on some beautiful roads and beautiful weather. Riding these two bikes back to back really highlights how much of a game changer Yamaha XS1100 really was. Even with the extra power output of the 79 model of the KZ1000, this bike cannot match the power and the smoothness of the Yamaha in any kind of performance contest. This Kawasaki definitely does have some advantages over the Yamaha. First off, it does turn into corners easier. It does have better brakes. The brakes are more easily modulated at the lever. The 5-speed transmission on this Kawasaki is a little bit cleaner shifting, a little bit smoother shifting than the 5-speed unit that's in the Yamaha. I also like that the Kawasaki has a fuel gauge instead of the Yamaha's low fuel indicator light. And I really do like the styling on this bike. It is still a really nice place to spend time and to cruise out through the countryside. And that brings us to Yamaha's XS1100 Special. Some of the advantages that the Yamaha has: it is a much smoother engine. There is significantly more power output and torque available really at any RPM. It has a very smooth on and off throttle transition, and the throttle turn on this is very light. It's very easy on your wrist, and it takes more effort on these slide type carbs at the throttle when you're giving it gas. So it feels more effortless when you're riding it as compared to the Kawasaki. The XS1100 really doesn't have any driveline lash. It doesn't jerk as you go on and off throttle. And that's one area where this Kawasaki is a little bit unrefined. You do have some driveline lash on and off throttle. Seating position wise, these are both very comfortable bikes. I would give the nod to the Yamaha for my body type. I'm a tall guy at 6'4". I like the fact that I sit down in this a little bit more. And this is just a supremely relaxing place to ride. If I had to pick a winner in this classic touring bike challenge, I would go with Yamaha's XS1100 Special, simply because it is more relaxing to ride, and therefore I can ride it for longer distances in comfort without getting fatigued. And that's really the key to a good touring bike. This test wasn't a blowout by any means. These are both still fantastic bikes. I really enjoy both of them. And if I had to pick just based on looks, I think this Kawasaki is just gorgeous. But they are both good looking bikes. There's no right or wrong there. It's just a matter of opinion. Well, I'd love to know what you guys think. If there are any KZ1000 Shaft fans out there, or Yamaha XS1100 Special fans out there, please let me know in the comment section below. As always, I hope you found this video entertaining and informative. And until next time, enjoy the ride.